How you doing there? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Ayin Beis, Daf 72 of Masechta Sanhedrin. Friends, Okay, today we are learning a very interesting sugya called the sugya of Haba B'Machteres, which is Take in this week's Parsha, I believe, right? Haba B'Machteres V'Shibra Sakelim, in Parshas Mishpatim. So by the time you listen to this, it'll Take already be the next week, but it's in these times. Haba B'Machteres, and we get to the concept of a rodef. If somebody's chasing after somebody else to kill them, so you could save the victim by killing the aggressor. Rodef, So we're starting to get into these sugyas today. Very interesting things. It's going to go tomorrow as well. Azoi. Okay. Here we go. We're going to start on Daf Ayin Beis Amud Aleph at the Mishnah on the last of the thin lines, right before it gets wide. Abba Machtes Nidon Al Shem Sofo Azoi. So the reason why Mistama this Mishnah comes up over here is because the previous Mishnah was Ben Sora Mora Nidon Al Shem Sofo Yom Muzak V'Yom Muschayv, right? Of course, Ben Sora Mora, at the end of the day, what has he done? He stole a little bit. It's not a capital offense, but we say that we have a chazaka be'etzim, that he's going to end up being a menace to society. So here is another example of Nidon Al Shem Sofo, that a Baba Machteres is Nidon Al Shem Sofo. Who could tell me what a Baba Machteres is? So Baba Machteres is Be'etzim a Ganif who tunnels in to somebody else's house. Poshit, our enemies use tunnels. We know how horrible of a thing these tunnels could be, and the determination to fight against any resistance in tunnels. So be'etzim, what happens is you have Shimon tunneling into Ruvain's house, and he's going to steal. He's going to steal Ruvain's TV. I don't know. He's going to steal whatever he wants. He's tunneling into Ruvain's house in order to rob him. Now Shimon also knows that when Ruvain, the victim, sees him, Ruvain is not going to simply stand idly by. Ruvain is not going to simply stand idly by while he gets robbed. And Shimon knows this. So Shimon comes in with a plan. He says, okay, I'm going to tunnel into Ruvain's house. Now, when Ruvain realizes that I'm about to steal stuff from him, he's going to put up resistance. So Shimon says, okay, I'm prepared for this resistance. I'm simply going to kill him. So milchatchila, the whole what's the word I'm thinking of? I can't think of the right word, but be'etzem milchatchila, Shimon, the tunneler, goes into this knowing that, look, I'm going to kill Reuven. Be'etzem, Shimon goes into this knowing he's going to kill Reuven, or at least ready to kill Reuven. Shimon knows if Reuven sees him, Reuven's going to fight him. Shimon says, "Forget it. I'm just going to kill Reuven." And therefore, because that's the perspective. I'm not finding the right word, but because that's kind of his sort of motivation going into it, that be'etzem he's ready to kill Reuven. So from Reuven's perspective, he's being chased, right? Basically, there's an attacker coming into his house about to kill him. So Reuven has a license to kill Shimon, right? Because we have a chazaka. There's a few chazakas going over here, right? Shimon, we have a chazaka in adomam ratzma mamono, right? Shimon knows that Reuven isn't just going to stand idly by while he gets robbed. And therefore Shimon knows that Reuven's going to put up a fight. Therefore Shimon comes prepared, ready to kill Reuven. And therefore because Shimon's ready to kill Reuven, Reuven has permission to immediately kill Shimon, no questions asked. So that's a bloodbath. Okay. So, back in the Mishnah. Hababa Machteres Nidon Al Shem Sofo. Somebody who's tunneling into somebody else's house is judged based on the ultimate outcome, which is that ultimately Shimon is coming prepared to kill Reuven. Therefore, Reuven is being chased by Shimon, and therefore Reuven has the right, he has the green light to kill. Reuven has the green light to kill Shimon immediately. If Shimon is tunneling into Reuven's house, and while doing so, he breaks a barrel. So now we see an interesting distinction. So Be'etzem is potter. Okay, this person's tunneling, right? Based on everything we've described until now, Shimon's tunneling into Reuven's house, and while doing this, he breaks a barrel. So Shimon is potter for the barrel because he's betzim chay, right? He's putting him. Right? It's right. Ein makom b'makom misa, right? That betzim, since Reuven has the green light to kill Shimon, so Shimon's betzim, in a place where he's liable to be killed, so he's not responsible for any monetary damage that he caused. Okay, so therefore Shimon was tunneling into Reuven's house, and then he breaks Reuven's barrel. Shimon doesn't need to pay for that barrel. Now, since Reuven has the right to kill him. Now, right, there's not money and death, since he's liable to be killed, so there's no payment. Now, we get to an important distinction though right now, which is that there is one exception to Hababa Machteres. There's one exception to Hababa Machteres, which essentially is that if it's a father who's tunneling into his son's house, okay? Because the assumption is that a father will not kill his son. And therefore when his son sees that, oh, it's my father who's tunneling into my house, the son is not allowed to kill the father, because the whole logic of, well, Shimon knows that Reuven's going to fight, so Shimon comes ready to kill Reuven. Reuven therefore is allowed to kill Shimon. That doesn't apply when it's a father who's tunneling into the son's house, because the father is not going to kill the son. And since the father is not going to kill the son cannot kill the father. We're going to see on Beis and Beis that actually, I think it was Rav who said that there are even certain people who aren't his father, but who he knows would not kill him. So it sounds like in that case, this would apply as well. But the point is, in a scenario where, and we're going to learn more about this on today's stuff, but in a scenario where you know for sure that the tunneler is not going to kill the victim, well then this whole thing of, Reuven being allowed to kill Shimon doesn't apply. But be'etzem essentially that's really just limited to a father tunneling into a son's house. So now the Mishnah touches upon this distinction now, which is im yesh lo damim chayiv. So with regard to a tunneler tunneling into a victim's house and breaking a barrel in the process, so im yesh lo damim chayiv, if the tunneler has blood, meaning he's not considered a dead man, he's considered a person with blood and who's alive, i.e. a father tunneling into his son's house, well then the father will be chayav to replace the barrel, since the father is not a dead man. There's no license to kill the father. Im ein lo damim, however, sort of a general scenario where somebody's tunneling into somebody else's house, where the victim has a license to kill, well then the tunneler is potter for the barrel. Well, okay. Not a very long, however, a very sort of intricate Mishnah, but also I would say relatively interesting. It feels like I have tons of stuff in my teeth, even though I don't think I have that much in my teeth. Alright. Says the Gemara, Omar Rove, says Rove, my time at Dimachteres, so I mean I've already I feel like in explaining the Mishnah I kind of gave a lot of the kind of context around above Machteres that hopefully things should be able to relatively fit into place. So now Omar Rove says, Rove, my time at Dimachteres, what's pshat with above Machteres? Right? Why does Reuven have the license to kill Shimon? Because we know that Reuven, the victim, is not simply going to stand idly by while he gets robbed, and therefore Shimon, the tunneler, Meimer, he knows this, right? Shimon knows this going into it, and therefore he says to himself going into it, I know that Reuven isn't going to stand idly by. If I go in to rob Reuven, koi lai poi, he's going to engage me. He's going to resist. He's going to fight me. V'loi shavikli, he's not going to let me simply rob him. So Shimon says, okay, I know what to do in that scenario. V'koi lai poi katil nolei. And therefore, if he fights me, if he resists me, I'm simply going to kill him I don't have time for this. I'm simply going to kill him. Well, now we have a scenario where Reuven is now about to be killed. So V'ateiru Omri, and the Torah says, Im ba lehargecha hashkeim lehargo, that if somebody's coming to kill you, well, you should kill him first. And therefore Reuven has the license to kill Shimon, since Shimon is tunneling into his house, ready to kill Reuven. Azoy. Omarov, says Rov, Habab machteres v'not al kelim v'yotza potter. Oh, so this is the opinion of Rav, that if Shimon tunnels into Reuven's house and he takes a vessel, so he's potter. Shimon does not need to return that vessel to Reuven, because my time, how come? B'damim kanonim. Well, with his blood, with the fact that Reuven had the right to kill him, the fact that he was in a position where he's allowed to be killed, where he's able to be killed. So therefore there's no mamon umisa, and therefore it is his, and he doesn't need to return it to Reuven, regardless of if it's broken or if it's 100% intact. Shimon has no responsibility to return that vessel to Reuven. Amar Rav, says Rav, mistaver milsa derav b'sheshiber deleisnu. So says Rav, I don't totally agree with Rav. I understand what Rav is saying if the vessel is broken. Because if the vessel is broken, then if we say, Shimon, you have to pay Reuven for the vessel, well, ein mamon umisa, right? There's no, right, if he was in a place where he can be killed, well, then we're not going to make him pay. However, aval notol lo. But if the vessel is still intact, we would treat it as a deposit, as like a shomer chinam, and we would say simply give it back. Okay? So Rav says that Shimon does not need to return it to Reuven, even if it's intact. Whereas Ravit argues that if it is still intact, it should be given back. It should be returned to Reuven, like a pikadon, like a deposit. Ve'er Elohim, to which the Gemara says, no, Amarav afilu natal. Whereas the Gemara says, no. When Rav says that Shimon does not need to return the vessel to Reuven, it is even when the vessel is intact. Shimon does not need to return it to Reuven. Deha yeshlo domim v'nensu chayv, because after all, in the scenario of yeshlo domim, in the scenario where it's a father stealing from his son, well, in that case, we said that the father must return the vessel to the son. Right? He says, if the vessel breaks, okay, if it's a situation of ones, chayav, he's still, right, the father would still have to pay the son. So we see that it's not a scenario of pikadon, of shomrim, right? A shomer chinam is potter for ones. And we see that in a situation of father and son, if the vessel breaks, he would have to pay the son for the vessel. So we see that it is not a scenario of a pikadon, of a regular pikadon, alma b'shusei kaime. So here also we'll say that it is in his domain, right? So alma b'shusei kaime. So we see that it's in the domain of the father, right? And the father needs to pay back the son, whether it's intact, whether it's not intact. So chanami b'shusei kaime, and we will say therefore the same thing here vis-a-vis Rav, that it's considered in Shimon's rishus, meaning if Shimon, who is not Reuven's father, if Shimon simply tunnels into Reuven's house and he steals a vessel, regardless of if the vessel is intact or if it's broken, it makes no difference. Shimon does not need to return to Reuven because it's considered in his domain. And therefore, making Shimon returning it to Reuven, even if it's intact, would be making him pay, essentially, and there's no mamon umisa. And therefore, Rav says his statement, even when the vessel is intact. Velohi, but the Gemara says, but that's not the case. Ki ukmino rachmono birshusei leinyon onsin, aval le'inyon mikna b'shusa demarayu kaimit. To which the Gemara says, no, that's not actually the case. That be'etzem, when we say that when Shimon is Reuven's father, so we say that he's chayiv even for onsin because it's like a ganef be'etzem. He's be'etzem a ganef, and he needs to. And so when we say if it's broken, of course he has to return. He has to pay Reuven. Avalinin mikna b'shusa demarayu kaime. But in terms of who actually owns it, or no, I would say wait. It was like ukmina rachmana b'shusa le'inin onsin. No, I would say fakert. Sorry, when it comes to Shimon, a regular case of Baba Machteres, we say that it's in his rishus regard to onsin. If it breaks, so then he does not need to return it because if it breaks, so a regular situation of Baba Machteres, right? Shimon tunnels into Reuven's house, takes a vessel, and it breaks. So we say that Shimon does not need to return it because that would be considered having to actually pay out of pocket. Mikna, but in terms of who actually owns it, Bershusei Demarayu Kaime. Actually, I take that back. I think it is referring to the scenario of the father and the son, right? So we say that if it's broken, he has to pay it back, right? Because he's be'etzem a ganef, and therefore he has to pay it back. And if it's where am I? Linen onsin. Avalim mikna b'shusay demarayu kaimi. But in terms of if it is intact, it still belongs to the original owner. Mida to have a shoyl, just like a borrower, right? A borrower, if the thing is intact, right, you give it back. If it's broken, yeah, you're chayiv for onsin. So also when it comes to the father paying for the vessel that he stole from the son, he's chayiv, right? He's chayiv just like if you think about it like a shoal. If it's intact, he gives it back, and if it's broken, then he's going to be responsible to pay for onsin. That is what is going on over there. Okay, and in a regular situation of Bab Machteres, if the thing still exists, so then he would have to give back the thing. If it's broken, so we wouldn't make him pay out of pocket because that would actually be a payment. But if it still exists, you simply give it back. It still belongs to the original owner. Now, for the Gemara, Tanan, we learn in our Mishnah, okay, if Shimon was tunneling into Reuven's house and he broke a vessel, Yeshlo Damim Chayv, so we say that if it's his father, so then he's going to be chayiv. Ein lo damim potter, and if it's anybody else, so he's going to be potter for breaking the vessel. Tamid the shiber. Okay, so the reason why he's potter is because the vessel broke. The ein lo damim potter, and in a situation of regular bab machteres, he'd be potter. Hanota lo, but implying that if it was intact, then you would simply give it back, like Rava, not like Rab. No, so we say hu adin ta'afilu nato nami. No, even in the situation of where it's intact, you could argue that he would hold on to it. But the katani shiber, and the reason why it says davka broke, shiber sachavas that the vessel broke. Kamajman is teaching us the chiyesh lo damim, that when it's the father afal gav the shiber, even though it broke nami chayev, he would still be chayev, even though it broke when it's the father. Pshita, that's obvious. Mazaku, right? If his father is tunneling into the house, so then he can't kill his father. So he's just so his father becomes just a regular damager. So well, it's saying even though he didn't intend to break the vessel, he's still going to be chayiv to pay for it. But my Tanina, but we'll say, well, what's it teaching us? That a person is always warned and that he's always going to be chayiv if he breaks stuff? We know that already. We learned this already in Masechta Bava Kama, that a person is always considered warned. A human being is always considered warned, whether it's intentional or not. So therefore, yeah. So Rav wanted to explain that, like, no, really, if it's intact, that really, even if it's intact, it does not need to be returned. But then, kasha, we say, kind of runs into trouble, because then you have to say the chiddush is for the father, but the father we don't really need to teach anything. All right. Most of it, Beva Bar Abaye asked the kasha, Goyniv Kiz b'Shabbos, that somebody who steals a wallet on Shabbos, Chayav Shayinis Chayav b'Gneva Kodem Shavah L'Dei Isur Shabbos. That if Shimon walks into Reuven's house, picks up his wallet and leaves, so he's going to be Chayav to pay for the wallet because when he picked up the wallet, that's when he's considered to have stolen it. And in terms of being chayiv for Otzah Merishus L'Rishus on Shabbos, that only comes afterwards when he leaves the house. So because there were basically two malachas that happened at two separate times, he's going to be chayiv for both. We don't say Kal Nebed Rab Mine. Hay Megar V'Yotzim Potter Shrei Isur Gneva V'Isur Skila Bo'en Kech. But if he was kind of dragging it and not actually picking it up inside Reuven's house, and therefore he didn't yet steal it, it was only when he kind of brought it Merishus L'Rishus from one domain to the other with Shinu Rishus, and then it was Kona B'Shinu Rishus. Well, he stole it with the Shinu Rishus, and also he was chayiv for Shabbos B'Shinu Rishus at the same time. So then, Potter, he's not going to have to pay for the wallet share Isur Gneva V'Isur Skila Bo'en Kechad because the theft and the Isur Shabbos came at the same exact time. So what do we see there? So we see there that even though the wallet is intact, we're saying that he does not need to return it. It's like rob, right? Meaning, right, we're saying in that case that if he schlepped the wallet out of the house, so even though the wallet still exists, he's potter because the Gneva and the Isur Shabbos came at the same time, even though it's intact. So it sounds like Rav, who says that he would not need to return it. So we say, we could say, well, that's talking about when the wallet was thrown in the river, so it isn't intact anymore, and that's why he's potter from paying. Rave one time, rams were stolen in a tunnel, somebody tunneled in and stole his rams. And then the rams were returned to Rave. He didn't accept them. He says, look, since Rav says that if somebody tunnels in somebody's house and steals stuff, even if they're intact, they need not be returned. So Rav says, look, I'm not accepting these rams. Right? Somebody tunneled in and stole them. B'domim kananu, they belong to that person, and he didn't accept them in return. Tanu Rabbanon, the Rebbe is taught, Ein lo dom. Oh, so Im Zorach Hashem Shalav. The pasuk Pashit says, what does the pasuk say? Im b'machteis yimotzei aganif v'ukav v'meiz Ein lo dom. Im Zorach Alav Hashemesh domim lo. Shalom Shalom Ein lo v'nimkar b'gneiv also. So it says again, Tanu Rabbanon, the Rebbe said, Ein lo domim Im Zorach Hashem Shalav. So the Brisa says, look, Ein lo domim. Right, so he has no blood. That's a regular bab machteres. Right, Reuven has a license to kill. Im Zarcha Hashemesh Olav, the sun shines on him. Hashemesh Olav Bilvad Zarcha, what is the sun only shining on this guy? El Imbar L'cha Adover Kashemesh She'ein Lo Shalim Imcha. If it is as clear to you as day, as the sun, that this person is not a peaceful person, Hargeu, kill him. But by default, don't kill him. Tanidach, but we have another verse that says that the sun shines on him, then he has blood. I don't kill him. Bilvad Zarcha is the sun only shining on him. Rather, if it's as clear to you as the sun that he comes in peace, do not kill him. But by default, kill him. So from the kasha stoma stoma, right? On the one hand, the first brisa says by default, don't kill him, and here we're saying by default, kill him. So we're saying lo kasha kan be av al ben kan be ben al ha'av. So it depends if we're talking about the father stealing from the son, or the son stealing from the father. Basically, if the father is stealing from the son, then you know for sure that the father will not kill the son, and therefore the son cannot kill the father. But if it's the opposite, in which the son stealing from his father, or certainly any other person stealing from somebody else, then by default you can, or you have a license to kill, because the assumption is that they're going to kill you first, otherwise. Rav says, Rav called ha'osi aloi b'machtarta katilnale. Says Rav, anybody who would tunnel into my house, I would kill him, because he would kill me. Levar may Rav Chanina bar Shila, except for Rav Chanina bar Shila. My time, how come? Ilim mishum de tzadiku. If you say because Rav Chanina bar Shila is a tzadik, ha'kosi b'machtarta. How big of a tzadik can he be if he's tunneling into somebody's house to rob him? El mishum de kimli begave timrachim olai krachim ava ben. But just because I know that Rav Chanina bar Shila would have mercy on me like a father would have mercy on his yingel. Okay, he has blood, whether during the week or on Shabbos. Ein lo dam, he doesn't have blood, you can kill him. Bein b'chol bein b'Shabbos, whether during the week or on Shabbos. Ein lo dam, bein b'chol bein b'Shabbos, it's true. So I understand why the Brisa needs to teach that Reuven can kill Shimon whether during the week, whether on Shabbos. Because I may have thought, right? Capital punishment is not executed on Shabbos. We don't do capital punishment on Shabbos. So I might think also on Shabbos, Reuven can't kill Shimon in a machteres. So Kamash Malon de Kadlinon, we say no. Bab machteres, Reuven can kill Shimon anytime. Because again, otherwise Shimon will kill Reuven. What's the deal with saying that a father stealing from a son, the son can't kill the father during the week or on Shabbos? Well, if during the week the child cannot kill the father, certainly on Shabbos he can't kill his father. So Rav Sheshes says Rav Sheshes that it's teaching about the Fakech Sagal. What if it's Shabbos and the father's tunneling into the son's house and then the tunnel collapses? We're saying Reuven can even save his father. The child can even save his father on Shabbos. The Rabbis taught Vehuka Bechol Adam. Okay, so here we're starting to get into like Rodef kind of things, right? The halacha of Rodef is that if Shimon is chasing Reuven to kill him, so then not only can Reuven kill Shimon in self-defense, anybody can kill Shimon to prevent him from killing Reuven. So now we're saying Vehuka, right? So it says by Baba Machter, it says Vehuka v'meis, and he's killed Vehuka b'chol adam. Anybody, Azoy, anybody can kill Shimon, right? So if so Shimon is coming to kill Reuven, so then anybody can kill Shimon. And he dies in any kind of way, right? Kill him however you want. You could think of some kind of creative way. So I understand why we have to say that anybody can kill Shimon. Well, because I understand why we have to teach that by above machteres, anybody can kill Shimon. Because, well, what's the whole svar with above machteres? That Shimon is tunneling into Reuven's house and knows, well, Reuven is not going to stand idly by, so Reuven is going to engage me, and therefore I will kill Reuven. Shimon's not thinking about anybody else, and therefore I might think that, since Shimon's not thinking about anybody else, nobody else has the right to kill, has the license to kill Shimon. So Kamashmalan, no. Anybody can kill Shimon to prevent him from killing Reuven. Kamashmalan, the Rodefu, that Shimon is a Rodef, Fafilu Acher Nami, and even other people can kill Shimon to prevent him from killing Reuven. But why do I need the Brisa to teach me, or the Pasuk to teach me, that Vames means that kill him however you gotta kill him. Kill Shimon however you can. Because after all, we should know that from a Ritzeach. The Tana that we learned in the Brisa, and we've seen this before, that a murderer is killed, right? It's a capital offense. We killed a murderer. All I know is that we kill him in the way that he's meant to be killed. We slice off his head. How do we know that if for whatever reason he can't be killed by slicing off his head, so then you can kill him however you got to kill him? It says he shall surely be killed. And however you got to kill him. So why don't we say that just like by a murderer, we kill him however we can. So also, above machteres, he's killed however he can be killed. So like, why do we need a special limud? Shiny awesome, most yumas. So we say, yeah, but it's different when it comes to murder because it specifically says most yumas. Yeah, but v'nigmar mine. But let's learn from murder, right? Bininav. So just like by murder, it's however you got to do it. So the same thing by above machteres. So mishum da'av ritzeach v'goyel adam shniksum b'an kechad. Well, the thing is, says It says this not just by a murderer, but also by a goyal adam, right? If Shimon kills Reuven by accident, so then Reuven's relatives can kill Shimon however they kill him. So because Rotzeach and Goyal Adam are Shnei Ksuvin Aboin Ke'echad, i.e. these are two specific cases where this halacha is taught, so I might think it's limited to only those two cases, and Abab Machteres would be excluded. Therefore we can't apply it globally, and therefore to include Abab Machteres, we have to specify that Abab Machteres Shimon can be killed in any way that he must be, in any way that the threat will be removed. Okay, so we're talking about a tunnel. Okay, so all I know about it is a tunnel. As sort of popular as tunnels have been in the current reality of the world, ultimately, I imagine that most thefts are not carried out. Most burglaries are probably not because the robbers tunneled into the house. They probably looked for an open door or something. So how do we know that these halachas apply even to a roof, to a courtyard, to I think like a backyard? Wherever he will be found. Then why specialize a tunnel? Because most ganifs are found in a tunnel. Interesting. I don't know, maybe some kind of tunnel, maybe it refers to some kind of breaking in of sorts. Some kind of investment in breaking in, rather than just finding an open door. Tanidach, we learn another verse of Machteres, and the other Machteres. All I know about it is a tunnel. Gago, Chatzer, V'kapefo, Minayin, Tamulomer, Yimotze, Ganif, Mikomokum. Kin, Tamulomer, Machteres, Machtarto, Zoe, Asr also. This is important. Machtarto, Zoe, Asr also. Right, in general, we would warn a person, right? If Shimon's going to kill Reuven, we say, "Hey, Shimon, don't kill Reuven." Shimon says, "No, I'm going to kill Reuven, and I'm going to do it anyways." But in this case, because he's so invested, Shimon's investing. He's digging a tunnel so that he could rob Reuven. He's invested in the theft. So therefore, the fact that he's so invested, he's determined, and he has plenty of time to think about what he's doing. It's like premeditated, and therefore the fact that this investment in building the tunnel is his warning, and therefore he doesn't even need a warning. Reuven can just kill Shimon. However, if he just found like an open door or something, which is not a machteres, he just found an open door and sneaked in, his intentions are not as confirmed, and therefore in that case, Reuven can't simply kill Shimon. There would have to be a warning. Right, like, hey, Shimon, don't do this. Whatever. If you kill, then you can be chayav misa, etc. Right there, you would need a warning. But by machteres, we're so invested, then we don't need a warning. But generally, you'd have to warn somebody, hey, don't kill the other person. You're going to be chayav misa, etc. We're going to get more into that now. Here we go. Omer Rav Huna says, Rav Huna, kohen arodef nitin latzilo benafsho. Okay, so says Rav Huna that even a kohen who's chasing after another kohen, and he's going to kill the other, right? One of them is going to kill the other. Nitin latzilo benafsho. So you can save the victim by killing the aggressor. Kasav rodef eino tzarich hasra, because Rav Huna holds that a rodef does not need a warning. You don't have to warn a rodef, hey, if you pull the trigger, you're gonna be chayav misa, etc. No. Kupasha just kill the rodef. Loshna godov, loshna katan, doesn't matter how old, doesn't matter the age, doesn't matter anybody's age, a rodef can simply be killed. Eis ve Rav Chizde le Rav Huna, Rav Chizde asakash Rav Huna, yotza rosho, chever, listen, this is a very interesting sugya. Yotza rosho, ein noigen boy, if shein dochen nefesh mipnei nefesh. I think this is like I think there's an important sugya when it comes to the halachos of abortion, I think. So you have a scenario where a mother is giving birth, and it's a tragic situation where betzem, it's either the mother or the baby, right? Either we kill the baby to save the mother, or the baby is born and the mother dies. So we're saying Yotza Rosho, once the head of the baby emerges, well then the baby is considered to be alive, and now you have two living humans. And ein nogenbo, we can't touch the baby, we gotta let the baby be born. Even though it means that the mother is going to end up dying, still we're not going to actively kill one person in order to save another. We're not going to kill the baby in order to save the mother. The baby, once the head emerges, the baby is delivered, even if it means that the mother is going to die. But one second, why can't we kill the baby in order to save the mother? As horrible as it is to have to talk about this, but shouldn't we be able to kill the baby in order to save the mother? The baby is a rodef. The baby is actively killing, right? This human is killing this other human. The baby should be considered a rodef. So shani osam de mishmai karad fela. Well, it's different there because it seems to be coming from God, that this baby being born, and I guess also kind of like the baby isn't doing anything. The baby's just being born, so it's heavenly decreed rather than like the baby wouldn't be considered a rodef here. Let's say that this supports Rav Huna. That if Shimon is chasing Reuven to kill him, we say to Shimon, see that, look, we say, Shimon, look, Reuven is a Yid. Uven brisu. The Torah says that if somebody kills somebody else, so then that person is going to get killed. The Torah says that we have to save Reuven by killing you, Shimon. And so we don't see anything about Shimon having to say, yeah, I know, I get it, I'm doing it anyways. Generally by Yisrael, you have to warn, and then the person needs to accept the warning and say, we learned a few weeks ago that he has to basically, say, yeah, I know what I'm doing is wrong, I'm doing it anyways. But here we didn't say that, so we see that it doesn't need to be a proper Yisrael when it comes to rodef. To which the Gemara says, you could say that by rodef you do need Asra. You can argue that you would need Asra even by rodef, so why doesn't he have to accept the warning properly then? Well, because that Brisa is the opinion of Rabbi Yosef Bar Yehuda, the Tani that Rabbi Yosef Bar Yehuda, Omer says Rabbi Yosef Bar Yehuda, Chover ein tzarich asor lefish lo nitna asor el avchin ben shogeg lemezid. That Rabbi Yosef Bar Yehuda's opinion is that a chover, somebody who knows the halachis, you don't have to warn him, because he already, the point of warning is so that the person knows that what they're doing is wrong. This person knows already that what he's doing is wrong, therefore it doesn't require Yisrael. And here we're talking, I guess, about somebody who knew that what he's doing is wrong. Tashma, coming here. If Shimon is chasing Reuven to kill him, right? And we say to Shimon, hey Shimon, don't kill Reuven, he's a Yid. If you kill Reuven, we're going to have to kill you. And we say, and if Shimon says, I know, and that's all he says, then he's going to be potter. He's not chayv mis, so we can't take him to Bezdin and kill him. But if he says, I'm doing it anyways, well then he's chayv. So here we see that taka in a situation of road, if you do have to have asra, unlike Rav Huna. So the tzricha dekoi b'trei ivrei denaira tlomotzi atzulei ma'ike debai isui levedina bedina bay asra. Right? It's talking about a scenario where Shimon and Reuven are on one side of a river, and the warner, the person giving the asura, is on the other side of a river, so that person can't actually kill Shimon. He's too far away, and therefore the only option that this person has is to bring Shimon to Bezdin. And in order to bring Shimon to Bezdin, you have to have warned him. That's why there's a warning. But if, this third person, Levi, was standing right there, and he could push it, just shoot Shimon in the head, he wouldn't have to warn him. Right? Because by rodef, we're saying you don't need asra, right? Shimon's chasing Reuven to kill him, right? Reuven could just push it, kill Shimon, or Levi can even kill Shimon, or Yehuda can kill Shimon, whatever it is. And there, you don't need asra, you just kill Shimon. However, in a scenario where Shimon's going to be brought to Bezdin, well, in Bezdin, there are rules. We need asra, we need warning, we need witnesses, etc. So in this case, we're on different sides of the river, and Levi can't actually kill Shimon, he's just going to have to bring him to court, so they're going to have asra for that. Alternatively, Rav Huna will respond, or Rav Huna could say, look, yeah, sure, according to this opinion, you do have to warn a rodef. You could say that, sure. But there was the other opinion that we saw a few minutes ago, that the sort of tunneling into the house, and the sort of the display of intent is in itself its warning, and I hold like that. And when Shimon is chasing after Reuven with a gun, that is his warning, and he doesn't need any further warning. And you can push it. He's a rodef, you can kill him. You don't need any other warning. That was Daf Ayin Beis of Masechta Sanhedrin, we learned today about the sugya of Ababa Machteres, somebody tunneling into his house, and we said that Reuven can kill Shimon because Shimon's going to kill Reuven, and we started going to Abba Lahargo, Chashkim Lahargo, and Rodef. Interesting sugyas. We talked about, right, the exception to Ababa Machteres being a father, because the father's not going to kill the son, but otherwise we assume that the burglar is going to kill the victim. We learned a sugya that relates to, I think there's a sugya that's shaykh in the shaila of abortion, in terms of particularly in a case where like the child might kill the mother, or the mother might die. At what point is the child considered born? Interesting questions like that. Peace out.